Gather round the fire, friends. Today's chilling and twisted story begins on the night before Christmas, 1975. The town of Winter Garden, Florida, was decorated with lights and wreaths, and everyone was hustling to finish up their holiday shopping, excited to spend the next day with family. But one family wouldn't make it to Christmas morning. Little did they know, this would be their last night together. Meet the Edwards family, Grandma Virginia, Grandpa Perry, and their daughter Eunice. Virginia and Perry had driven across the country from Georgia to visit Eunice and her husband Tommy for the holidays. The young couple owned a successful furniture store in their Florida hometown. To the outside world, they seemed to have an ideal life, a nice house, steady jobs, and a loving marriage. But things are not always as they appear. As the Edwards settled into the guest room at Tommy and Eunice's place, they had no idea their visit would end in bloodshed. By the next morning, half the family would be dead. The night started normally enough. Tommy and Eunice left the house to pick out a recliner at the furniture store as a Christmas gift for her parents. It was closing time, but Tommy had a key since he owned the place. He told Virginia and Perry to head over in an hour to test it out. We still don't know the exact details of what happened next, but either way, 4 people entered that store, and only one made it out alive. Around 9:15 that night, while townspeople were enjoying their Christmas Eve, the phone rang at Judge Ted Van Deventer's Christmas party. On the other end was a voice the judge recognized right away, his client and friend, Tommy Zeigler. Tommy was short of breath. "Ted, it's me. I'm hurt bad. You gotta send help." The judge thought he was joking at first, but Tommy promised it was no prank. "Put the chief of police on," he urged. Moments later, Police Chief Don Fick rushed from the party with lights flashing, sirens blaring. He pulled up to the furniture store, not knowing what nightmare awaited inside. Tommy stumbled out the front door, covered in blood. As the chief raced him to the hospital, Tommy uttered a cryptic phrase. "It was Charlie. He tried to rob me." Chief Fick headed back to the store, backups soon swarming the scene. Guns drawn, they entered the darkened showroom. Broken glass and debris littered the floor. "Police! Come out with your hands up!" they yelled to no reply. Winding through desks and sofas, the officers swept their flashlights over the large space. Near the back rooms, they discovered a man's body face down in a pool of blood, shot dead. But it wasn't Charlie, the suspect Tommy described. It was a white man, and Charlie was black. Stepping over the corpse, the cops discovered another victim, an elderly woman splayed amongst the living room sets, riddled with bullets. They approached the front counter. A young woman came into view. She was sprawled on the kitchen floor, dead from a gunshot to the head. The officers had stumbled upon a bloodbath. A family slaughtered the night before Christmas. Who were these victims? Why had the store owner called for help when he was found wounded at the scene? And where was Charlie, the alleged killer Tommy had named? It was a puzzle, and the deeper police dug, the stranger things got. The evidence just didn't line up with Tommy's version of events, like the fact that all the victims died at different times, hours apart, or that the guns appeared scrubbed clean of prints, or the busted window and back. Something sinister had gone down inside that little furniture store. The victims were soon ID'd as Tommy's family, his wife Eunice, her mom Virginia, and her dad Perry. Tommy claimed they surprised a burglar named Charlie, who started shooting, and he had shot back. But the blood spatter told a different story than self-defense. Tommy's shoes matched prints and blood. The guns traced back to him, and he had taken out hefty life insurance policies on his wife. To police, all signs pointed to cold calculation. A man who ruthlessly executed his own family, then staged a robbery to cover his tracks. But Tommy insisted Charlie pulled the trigger. Cops just needed to find him. Well, they found him, just not how they expected. Charlie was there all right, stone dead alongside Perry and Virginia. If Charlie wasn't the shooter, then who really killed the Edwards family in cold blood on Christmas Eve? And why were they slaughtered inside a simple furniture store? In the end, investigators captured the man they believe committed these sinister deeds, the person who led these poor souls like lambs to the slaughter inside his furniture store just before Christmas, Tommy Zeigler. As Tommy recovered in the hospital, detectives started piecing together his alleged motive, one that suggested these murders were months in the making. Over the coming days, the cops untangled a web of deceit, secret lovers, life insurance schemes, money troubles, a man leading a dangerous double life. This was no spur-of-the-moment crime, no botched robbery. What happened that night was the culmination of a bitterly cold plan, executed flawlessly by someone no one would have suspected. Turns out, Tommy had recently taken out huge life insurance policies on his wife Eunice, over $500,000 worth. Rumors swirled that Eunice had stumbled onto Tommy's secret double life, proof her perfect husband was involved with other men. She threatened to leave and expose his deceit. Christmas was right around the corner. The time families come together. Did Tommy envision his family crumbling before his eyes? His sexuality revealed, and his wife walking out for good? Would $500,000 be enough motive for murder? Police thought so. But the physical evidence seemed to tell an even darker tale. Blood spatter showed Eunice died first, shot execution style in the back of the head. Next, Virginia and Perry were hunted through the store, brutally gunned down. Both put up a fight before their violent ends. Lastly came Charlie, killed just feet from Perry's corpse. Somehow in the chaos, Tommy sustained a bullet wound to the gut. It was excessive violence on a shocking scale. Leading cops to believe personal rage drove these crimes, Tommy possibly taking sick pleasure in overkill against those who threatened his image. But Tommy swore Charlie acted alone. And police did uncover 2 witnesses backing parts of his story. First was Edward Williams, Tommy's handyman and friend. Edward said he met Tommy to deliver furniture that Christmas Eve, but when he arrived at the darkened store around 8:40 p.m., Edward faced pure horror. Tommy had emerged from the shadows, wielding a gun, shooting straight at him. By some miracle, the weapon jammed. Edward recalled those terrifying moments staring down the barrel. Certain he was facing his final seconds on Earth at the mercy of a friend, he managed to escape, grabbing the defective murder weapon and placing it into his coat pocket on his way out. Blocks away, Edward flagged help. At the station, he produced the smoking gun. Literally. Ballistics confirmed it was the one used to slay Perry and Virginia Edwards. Why this trusted friend now feared Tommy wanted him dead, Edward couldn't quite explain, but the planted gun provided damning proof against Zeigler. Yet secretly, investigators still harbored doubts about Edward's account. Phone records put Tommy calling police by 9:15 p.m. How could he have attacked Edwards after that? Even fishier, the store was pitch black when Edwards described arriving to load furniture. Phone outage too. But lights were still blazing when the first officer pulled up after Tommy's call. So who cut the power prior? And who cast the store into darkness to conceal their wicked acts? One glaring hole in Edward's story among many, yet a second witness seemed to fortify Tommy's version against this mountain of physical evidence. A man named Felton Thomas emerged, backing Tommy's claims about Charlie. Felton swore he accompanied Charlie to the furniture store that fateful Christmas Eve. They planned to pick up a television Tommy offered to gift Charlie's family for the holiday. When they first arrived, Tommy got out to open the store, but realized he had forgotten his keys. So Felton said the 3 men left to grab Tommy's store keys from home. On that ride, Tommy passed around guns concealed in a paper bag. He stopped at a grove, as Felton tells it. All 3 casually took target practice with these weapons, plinking rounds at trees before continuing their holiday errand. They returned to the store where Felton departed and left Charlie and Tommy inside alone. But why would Tommy voluntarily hand over murder weapons or risk getting caught red-handed with accomplices? Well, perhaps not by chance. Investigators found bullets in that same orange grove matching Tommy's guns, but Felton had his own credibility issues, and no evidence put him at the grove itself, just his word he was present when shots rang out. In yet another strange twist, Felton was a new face to Tommy. They'd never even met before that night, making his 11th hour appearance mighty convenient for police. And why depart without the TV he drove miles to get? Abandoning his friend in a dark store? It didn't quite add up. With 2 witnesses and mounds of physical evidence pointing to his guilt, Tommy went on trial just months later, suspected of slaying 4 loved ones in an elaborate insurance scam. Zeigler maintained his innocence under a barrage of questioning, painting himself the tragic victim of random violence. He even took the stand, recounting those terrifying moments confronting Charlie in his store, frantically firing in self-defense before blacking out from his sustained bullet wound. Tommy pleaded his case, spinning a heart-wrenching saga of near-death defending family from a bloodthirsty killer. But the jury didn't buy the wounded hero act. In their eyes, he displayed no grief over his slain wife, no concern for her butchered parents, just cold calculation to save his own skin. After brief debate, they rendered a swift verdict against Zeigler, 4 counts of first-degree murder. The judge imposed the harshest sentence allowed. He sent Tommy to rot on death row until the state saw fit to end his life. Behind bars, Tommy tirelessly fought to clear his name and overturn the guilty conviction, but prosecutors pushed back just as hard. They discounted the questionable witness statements, stuck by their rock-solid forensic case against Zeigler, refusing to retest any evidence they insist will only reconfirm his guilt. Year after year, Tommy scrambled to prove he didn't pull those triggers, that investigators got the story all wrong. He believes if given the chance, DNA could show blood from Charlie, not Perry Edwards, on his clothing that night, potentially shifting suspicion back to the man Tommy still maintains committed these heinous deeds. Because one critical question was never asked, Charlie was found lying in a pool of blood. Who did that blood belong to? If traces of the other victim's blood coated his shoes while pacing the death-filled rooms, DNA could finally provide the answer. Yet Florida refuses to run those tests in the decades since, certain of Zeigler's conviction, unwilling to waste resources confirming what they know is true. But others whisper DNA may instead expose shoddy police work, potentially proving grave injustice was committed against Tommy Zeigler. Without testing, there may always be room for doubt about what transpired December 24, 1975, inside that blood-stained furniture store. If the state claims they have the right man behind bars, why not allow testing that may finally confirm it? What are they hiding from if they are certain those results won't change a thing? Could Florida be on the verge of executing an innocent man? Or did police actually catch a cold-blooded killer in Tommy Zeigler?